Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming for the first Film Companion Unfiltered with Imtiaz Ali at Starbucks. The idea here really is to sit over a nice beverage and unravel the mysteries of the artist and the artistic process. And so I'm going to, over the next hour, try and get a little bit inside the head of Imtiaz. Imtiaz is, of course, one of Hindi cinema's most successful film directors. His first film, Socha Na Tha, released in 2005. His sixth film, Tamasha, is releasing on 27th November. And yet, despite all this success, he says he became a film director by accident. How does that happen? How do you become a film director by accident?
When I started out, I had no idea that, that a normal human being can become a film director.
I read that in an interview,
Yes.
that your idea of showbiz was that it was a white building with little offices and you
Right.
could walk into it. First of all, why is this building white?
I don't know, it was just white in my dreams. And I thought I'd go there and they'd interview me and they'd assess whether I'm good enough or not to be a part of the film industry. And I didn't even think whether they'd interview me as an actor or a director or a writer, but they'd just interview the potential of this guy. Anyway, that was a dream and I knew it'll never really
So
come
you
true.
thought like in one office there's Karan Johar, in one office
Yes.
there's Adi Chopra. It's like that.
Yes,
Everyone
yes.
sits next to each other.
Yes. And I also thought, and this was actually a fantasy, I think, that there'd be a body which is a uniform body which represents all producers and directors, and there's no, like, everybody's united in that. So, which is unfortunately not the case, or maybe fortunately not the case. So that's what I was thinking
But how
when I
did
was
you,
a kid.
I mean, film direction is also such a technical process. How do you become that by, I mean, I cannot go on a set and start directing a film.
But that's literally what happened to me.
You just got on a set.
Because I met some foolish people on the way, and they were foolish enough to believe that I can direct. Because I used to direct theatre, and I'd done that for a long time, so I knew how to talk to actors and what to say and what the whole story thing was, and I was always writing ever since I remember. So all of that was there, and I was looking for a job. I came to Bombay. I actually did a course in advertising and marketing in Xavier's because I thought that's the only way to get a job. I wanted to do something close to what I'm doing, but I could never kid myself to believe that I'll become a film director one day, coming out of Jamshedpur, So I thought advertising and marketing is good. Because I like the advertising angle of it. There was something creative to do, there was something writing to do, and then from there I thought maybe I can branch out and get into television perhaps, and that would be great for me. I did the course. Luckily I never got a job in advertising. You guys can still hear me? All right. So I didn't get a job in advertising much as I tried, and the job that I did get was in television, was in ZTV, as a kind of a production assistant to take tapes from one place to the other. And I was there for a couple of months, then I got another job in Crest Communication. Now this time it was as a conceptualizer for television program. Your dreams can be of any type, and many of them are illogical. Most of my dreams are very illogical, that I'm flying and I'm underwater and all of that, all kinds of things. So this was also, I'm sure that there could have been an illogical dream that I'm on a film set and I'm calling action and I'm sitting on that director's chair and all of that. But it was not really a dream that I was pursuing in any way. So I was just kind of drifting from one point to another, depending upon the birds I had in my hand, and making the choice that I could. I at the same time also had I had to survive in this city, I had to pay my bills, etc. So I knew that I'd be doing a job. I wouldn't just be sitting and trying to do something. So But the choice that I made was kind of steering me more and more towards performing arts, because I'd always, as a kid, done theatre, and it was something which I thought, I'd always do in my life as a hobby. So after this Crest communication job that I was talking about, I conceptualized this series called Purushetra, which was a talk show with Kiran.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I did that, and then by some default, I was asked to direct it, because there was no direction, there were these 5 cameras, and I had to really streamline the conversation, select the panelists, decide the topic, and basically guide the conversation with Kiran. So, and we got some awards, etc., perhaps because there was no one else that was doing, chat shows at that point of time. So I got some awards. So Anupam was in a crisis one day, and he realized that he had a very successful show, fiction show on TV called Imtiaz. Now 98 episodes of that had already been directed and come on Doordarshan and was doing very well. And I think Ravi Rai was directing it very efficiently, and so something happened and Ravi left. So Anupam had a vacuum and he needed a director. In his desperation, he saw me on the fringes somewhere, and he said, you can direct. So I said that I've never really been on a fiction set ever. I don't know how it goes. He says, "Arey kuch nahi hota hai. You just go there, and तूने theatre किया है, हो जाएगा," and all of that. So I refused, but he was desperate, so he couldn't take my refusal, and ultimately I found myself on the set for the first day. When I did get onto a set, I was the director. I'd never ever been on a set where you shoot fiction, and I went over there, and there was the cameraman, and because the whole unit was from the past, they had already done 98 episodes.
So they knew what they were doing.
They knew what they were doing, they knew each other, they knew the lingo, and I was 21 years old. And I was the youngest member of the whole unit actually, and I was the director. So I tried to make a serious face, and
you decided, I'm going to fake it.
I'm going to fake it. Yeah, there's no way that I'm going to let this opportunity go by. I was always very conscious of not letting him know that I don't know. And he was this very able and experienced gentleman called Ashok Behel. So with Behel Sahab, I would always have this conversation as though I'm so open-minded that I'm going to take your suggestion as well. And
why don't you tell me what you think?
Exactly. So I'm thinking this and and I would always have to pretend as though it's my idea, wherein it was actually his. And sometimes I would just for the heck of it say, no, I don't think that's good because blah, blah, blah. So, because I knew the words and I'd done English literature and all of that. So he'd say like this and I'd say, yeah. And he thought, okay, so we'll do it this way. And every day, and these two friends were assisting me, and I used to tell them that we'll get caught one day or the other.
But you didn't.
But let's just try to push that day as far away as possible. So this pretension lasted for a long time. And then I was so insecure about these things because, one day he'd say, should we put the trolley? And I said, what the hell is the trolley now? And what happens when you put a camera on a trolley? And he said,
everyone in this audience thinks you can just get onto a set now and make a movie, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what Imtiaz Ali did.
I think you should try. Because I also feel that even if you educate yourself and you know everything, even then when you do come onto the set and try to direct, you will feel that you are unprepared. Nothing will really prepare you for that time when you've got to start directing on a set with real people.
So you might as well be unprepared.
You might as well be unprepared. And well, in my case, with the insecurity of not knowing, I was trying to learn very fast. Till one day Ashok Behel said that, यार तेरी कहानी वानी का तो पता नहीं मुझे कि तू डायलॉग वायलॉग क्या लिखता है. But I must admit that you're very strong with technique. So I took him out for an evening meal and drinks that day. But what I want
Did you reveal to him that
Yes, that is the night I revealed to him.
And what did he say?
And some 70 episodes had been done by then, or 40 episodes had been done by then. And he said, "क्या बात कर रहा है यार?" I said, "तू मेरे को बेवकूफ बना रहा है." I said, "नहीं, मैं बना चुका हूँ."
It's done.
It's done already.
But Imtiaz, was there in that process of the 40 episodes or the 70, was there a day when it fell into place when you knew, okay, I'm actually a director now, I'm not faking it anymore?
It is still not happened. You know, it has still not happened. Because now I feel that actually the important thing is to have a story and have a vision or that small story for every shot, for every actor, for every costume designer or makeup person. You've got to have a vision, you have to have a picture in your mind which you need to just explain to people who perhaps are more qualified than you in their technical skills. Oftentimes we don't have that too, and we try to construct that. So earlier I couldn't tell a cameraman whether for this distance you should put a 35 mm lens or a 50 mm lens or a 75 mm lens. Perhaps later with time I could, but doesn't make a difference.
Really?
Yeah, because I can say 75, he can put 75, I can go behind that lens and see it, and I said, no, this is not working, actually I think you should put a 15. Maybe, you know, I always have the option of going behind the lens and seeing for myself and figuring out whether this is what I was looking for. So the point is to really have that picture in your mind.
So is that what you do? You're literally in front of the monitor and you figure it out right there?
Yeah, and in my case I'm not even in front of the monitor because I'm usually with the actors now or on the set. Yeah, you figure it out. And then it, you know, if you can make this process collaborative wherein you say, I've also realized now that you should say the basic minimum things. You shouldn't try to say too much. You'll still be present as the vision, you know, as the picture. But the more you can make yourself transparent as a director, the better it is.
What do you mean by transparent?
That you don't, more or less everyone should feel that it was their idea what they're doing.
Imtiaz, you talked about writing. Tell me a little bit about your writing process. When you create a character, like let's say Geet in Jab We Met, which becomes so successful and appeals to so many people, do you kind of look at your steps again? Do you walk back to say, what did I do to create such a successful character and can I replicate that? I mean, does that happen at all?
No.
Not at all?
Not at all.
So, do you know when you've written, let's say, a Jab We Met that, wow, this is a really amazing character and it will connect? Do you have an instinctive feel for that, or these things just happen? They're totally out of your control?
These things happen. You know, when you're writing, sometimes you get a feeling in your heart that you feel nice. You know, it's almost as though the writing of it has entertained you, and you have been the first audience for what you're writing, for that piece. And for instance, I remember in Jab We Met that while I was writing it, I really thought there's no story in it, and I thought, I don't know whether this film will get made, I'm writing it. And then there was a point in the story where she rushes from the khet and she comes, and there is Aditya, and she comes to him and he looks at her and he has an air gun in his hand, and she says, वो देख रहा है?
The boyfriend.
The boyfriend.
Right, I remember.
इधर आ रहा है, वो इधर देख रहा है. And he says, yeah. And she goes and hugs him. At that point, I got the thrill in my in myself, and I thought that now I think the film will get made.
So you know when it's sitting right.
Yeah.
In this, where do these women come from? Geet and, you know, Heer in Rockstar or Veera in Highway. Are you picking up from what you see around you?
Yes, I am.
So are you observing everyone?
No, I'm not really observing. I'm just...
Be afraid.
Well, today I'm in a confessional mode, much to the peril of a lot of people, I guess. But I think I've realized that I've always been very interested in women.
you know, these women are not standard issue Bollywood women.
Because I've never met women that are the standard Bollywood women in my
Thank
life.
God.
Yeah, I've never met those women, and I have no option but to portray in my movies the kind of women I've seen in my life, and often sometimes seen, sometimes hoped I saw, etc., etc. And yeah, I think not having a sister has been interesting in my case, in the way that a woman was always something a little far away that you could be interested in and try to observe, but there was no
immediate
while growing up there was no immediate experience with them. Yeah, and you know, I've then in Delhi I'd meet girls who would be going to Punjabi Bagh or Shadra or something and sitting in the bus and talking incessantly to you about all kinds of things, and since this is on digital, I can even say that I met a girl who kept talking and then beyond a point she says that मेरी ना उस दिन मैं जा नहीं सकी थी क्योंकि मेरी ना periods थी and तो मैं नहीं गई ना वहाँ पे कि क्या मतलब white कपड़े पहन के गई थी मैं तो पता नहीं क्या होता. And
you're just
so I was just watching, and then she turns to me says that मैंने बहुत ज़्यादा बात कर दिया, इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि मैं लाइन मार रही हूँ तुझे. So things like that, you know, girls like that. There are girls like that who feel that they've got these brilliant sparks going on in their minds, and it is their duty to share it with the world. So I think it kind of originated from there.
So some of Geet comes
yeah,
from
Geet
that
comes
woman.
from there. Yeah, because she you know, yeah, in a way, when I see Jab We Met, and I saw some scenes of Jab We Met recently, and there's this scene where she rushes up to him outside the railway station and hugs him and says, "Hi, I'm Geet, and I'm so pleased to meet you." And then later on, when she sees that he's talking to the receptionist of Hotel Decent, she says that "Mujhe karate aata hai. Don't act funny with me." Just because I have said so much doesn't mean that, you know. So
this
it comes from there.
That
yes,
woman.
yes,
Right,
yeah.
right.
I feel that it's all fragments of perhaps various women, and maybe it is just baked and caked by my own imagination too. Because you know, when a decade goes by, I sometimes think that do I remember things accurately, or am I just imagining things around and making it in a certain way?
So, Imtiaz, are directors always taking notes?
I'm never taking notes really.
No, mental notes in the sense?
Perhaps, yeah, perhaps.
There's a Priyal in the front row, is a big fan, and she has a question.
Listen guys, thanks a lot for being here, and a special mention because you are the first ever audience for Unfiltered with Anu.
So Priyal, what's your question?
Hi Imtiaz,
Hi.
I'm Priyal, I'm a huge fan. My question was, all your love stories which you write, are they a slice of your life personally? Where do they come from?
As I was saying, not directly, I wish that they were all slices of my own personal life, but not really. Some of them are, there are some touches, there are some, cherries or nuts there, or a little dough that is coming from my personal experience, but often from imagination around those experiences. It's like if I meet somebody for some time, you know, then I'm kind of predisposed in a way to think about what would happen to that person after I left. She had said that she is scared to go home tonight because tomorrow some suitor is coming to see her, and she's been rejected thrice already in marriage, and this happened. So after I left the cafeteria, how long was she there? Did she meet someone over there? When did she go home? I'd think about it.
Okay.
And that would come into my stories.
All right.
So it's fact and fiction.
Yes.
Sort of blended.
Yeah, yes, like that.
But tell me, the media always portrays you as this kind of Sufi in showbiz.
That your husband does.
I've read that word Sufi in connection to you everywhere. And like you're some kind of detached wanderer who just happens to make these blockbusters with big stars and songs and foreign locations. I mean, how close is this to the truth?
It's not true at all.
At all.
And it's very embarrassing because, you know, anyone who is actually a practicing Sufi will be shocked. Will have a heart attack. That this guy, this corrupt, morally suspect individual is put in the same category as us. Not at all. Not at all.
Not at all. But Imtiaz, when you talk about your films, I saw one interview where you said that you said they're like old friends.
Yes.
You know, I mean, they used to make me happy once, but they don't really mean anything anymore. I mean, are you really that detached?
Yes, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't have a sense of ownership with the movies, you know, some time after they are done. And I might enjoy some scenes in them, but chiefly I don't like many scenes in most of my films. I feel that I could have done better. Sometimes I'm very embarrassed. I can rarely go through, in fact, I cannot go through watching a whole film of mine. And I do remember the experiences when I see a film of mine, but there are two things I care about. If I take money from somebody to make a movie, I would want that money to be returned to that gentleman so that the film industry can go on. And similarly for myself too, that I get enough from the movies that I have made to be able to make the next film. That's all. Beyond that, it's a market and it's a game. Of course, it's a part of a market and all of that. It's not I'm not so that concerned about it really.
But when a film really succeeds, let's say like Jab We Met, do you not like sort of say, yes, I did it? Like, is there a euphoria and elation?
It happens in such small stages that you never really, when would you know that the movie is successful? That time never really comes. You know,
but on that Friday when it's all full, everybody's raving, nahin?
Well, Jab We Met didn't have that good fortune. Actually, Jab We Met didn't open very well at all. So that Friday was not that good, and we were seeing whether it's going to last. It did last, but then will it be around? What will be the collection this Friday? What will be the collection on Saturday, etc. There are so many things.
Do you watch that?
I watch that just to get a sense of whether people are really enjoying it or not. And I also go to cinema theatres to see what the reaction is.
Do you watch with the audience?
Yes, I watch with the audience, and that's a very learning and a rewarding experience.
But it must be scary also, no?
Yeah, it was scary when I went to see Highway in Gaiety.
What happened?
In the stalls. And luckily I was kind of hiding myself, otherwise I would have, I think, been made a subject of public mockery. They would have had me on the stage to just throw.
Why? What happened?
Because you know, the audience over there, in certain parts, sometimes they get very restless. The Highway is the kind of film where it's like there's a sensitive type treatment going on, and so suddenly there'll be some comment from some audience guy, and the whole auditorium will laugh. And somebody else will also make another comment, and you know, these guys will be talking to each other through the film and that kind of thing. And then
but does that kill you as an artist? Because you've created this, it's taken you years.
No, I enjoy it because
really?
because I've grown up in, you know, Jamshedpur, in B-class cinema halls watching films, and I enjoy this kind of thing.
But
and
it's your movie.
Yes, it is. It's fine. I mean, see, it's also a Gaiety stalls is not really the place where Highway would run. That
Sure.
intelligence
So
I have.
Why did you
I
pick
went
it?
there. I
Just
went
curiosity.
there just curiosity, and to say that how are they? And then when the gunshot happens, then for 2 minutes this silence. Abhi mar gaya kya? Seriously, really mar gaya? You know, all of that is going on. So, but then when he lifts her to take her inside before that, it's like that.
What you intend?
Not at all, not at all. But then it's so divided now because Gaiety in the balcony was pitch silent and getting emotional, and when women, like guys and women were coming out, they had tears in their eyes, and so it was just a very contrasting world between the balcony and the
But
front row.
how does that impact on you as a creator when you see such varied reactions? The next time you sit down to write, do you keep an audience? Are you thinking of stalls? Are you thinking of balcony?
I'm not directly thinking of anything actually when I'm writing, but it's good to feed in the information to the brain. I don't want to not know at all how movies are being watched.
You don't want to be in isolation.
I definitely don't want to be in isolation. Sometimes it's good to be slapped around, as long as it tells you what's really happening, so that you don't become less and less and less relevant to the world. So I guess I'll make movies that will be of interest to certain segments or to the whole world, or maybe I'll make a movie which will not be of interest to certain people, etc. And that's my choice, as long as the economy works, the economics work. But I don't want to be unaware of how people are watching films.
And it's not brutal. You're saying you can handle it. Even if there is criticism, if there's something else, you're generally...
Absolutely. And I keep telling this to, I'd like all critics in the world to tell me honestly what they feel. It's because, of course, I'm making a movie and I'd like that everyone loves it. Everyone really loves it because I love it and that's why I made it. But if somebody is not telling me the truth, then in the future he's not helping me really. And I intend to make more movies. I have never intended to not make movies beyond like Love Aajkal or Highway or this one.
No, I have to tell you, Highway didn't really speak to me in the way it spoke to many people, and I said that and Imtiaz was like very okay with it.
Because I didn't even know that you said it actually.
Oh good.
Oh shit.
I just told him. So, alright, I've just revealed myself then. But I always thought you were really mature and evolved. Yeah. You just didn't read what I had to say. No, but honestly, it's not easy. It's not easy because a lot of people take it personally when you critique somebody's work.
Yes, yeah. There's a sense of association, but you've got to be mature. And what I feel that from the best and the closest people in your life, what you can really demand is the honest truth. If they give you that, they don't need to give you anything else. That's the only thing that can empower you to make another film which is perhaps going to be a little better because of that one thing that someone said.
Imtiaz, if you could change one thing about the Hindi film industry, what would it be?
The way that movies are exhibit.
What do you mean?
I think there is too much focus on just the opening. All movies are not the same. There are certain movies that make an initial impact. There are certain movies that don't make an initial impact. Some of the greatest success stories that we've had in Indian cinema were not initial impact types. You had to kind of let them sink in for them to really reveal their power. Like Sholay, I think could be the most successful movie ever. But a Sholay releasing today doesn't really stand a chance at all, because it's going, in a certain pace. It is not banging at you. So just that the opening weekend number or the opening Friday number and that cascading or growing geometrically into a larger number, and those calculations I think might be a little detrimental to the way movies are.
Do you feel a pressure to deliver when you have Ranbir Kapoor, when you have Deepika Padukone, when you have Corsica, when you have you? Do you feel that on that Friday there is going to be everyone watching ki opening kya thi?
No.
You don't care?
No. And luckily I also have this some sort of a disorder about numbers. I forget. I forget the prices of things. So I'll forget the number that is substantial and respect worthy by the time it happens. So I really go
That's
with...
a great amnesia to have for a director.
Yes. Maybe I've acquired it and working on it deliberately, but I have that. And but I'd like to know if people got their money back.
So what is your sort of secret, and maybe this is it, this this selective amnesia that you have, to surviving showbiz? How should one do it for any directors out there?
Listen to your story before telling the story.
What do you mean, listen?
Try. It's a little difficult to explain this, but what is in your mind, once you start writing it or saying it, there might be a process of honing it towards something, making it more interesting than actually it is, etc. So if you're very clear of what your story is and you're sure that you have that story, then you should go ahead. Then you'll never feel inadequate in any department. Not having that story will put you in trouble. At some point of time, you'll lack the depth to finish the movie nicely.
So you mean you're not saying literally write your own story, but have clarity about
have
what you're saying?
Have clarity about what you're saying, yeah, and believe in what you're saying, and test it.
How do you test it?
Everybody might have a process. You can tell the story to many people. Anyone who you find, you tell them the story, and if you feel that you are getting bored of it, drop it. Because if you do the movie, you'll be doing this for 2 years, telling this again and again to everybody. So you should feel freshly interested and passionate each time. So if you're not, then drop it. So that's what I mean by listening to your story, really.
What in your mind is the most important quality for a director to have?
To be interested in people. I think if you're interested in people, you might have something to say about them in your stories, and therefore you might communicate with them through your movies in a better way. That's the macro picture. In a microcosm, you would be speaking, and there's a lot of communication that happens. A lot of people are talking to you, the cameraman, the technicians, the actors, lots of people when you're working. To be able to understand them is important. To be able to be interested in them is paramount to understand them, and for them to understand you. For you to look at things from their point of view, to try to supply something to them that can make their work better, etc., etc.
Especially in this country, where they are just deified and they're put on a pedestal like constantly.
Yeah.
How do you? It becomes that vanity is
vanity.
Vanity. How do you stay interested in people? How do you stay interested in a normal, textured life when you are actually a god?
The point is that to be in a position of great success, you've got to be, you've got to make yourself special. You've got to find a way of still interacting with people, being interested in people. If you fail in doing that, then it will be tough. And I find the most successful actors of this industry interested in people.
They still are.
Yeah, they still are. Each one of them. And especially the successful ones. And I don't know what they do to interact. They take foreign holidays, but even within wherever it is possible, it is not possible for a Amir Khan to just go out and interact with people, it's just not going to be possible. But he will find his way of interacting and getting some new, learning is a boring word, but some insight.
New content.
New content every day.
Yeah.
That happens with all of these guys. And with Ranveer especially. I mean, I know Ranveer better than most others, but I see in him a certain interest in people which is, actually frightening. Yeah.
How so?
Because whoever he meets, he'll be about. So where are you going? Why? So she lives there. So wait a minute. How do you meet her? छोड़ दे यार, जाने दे उसको. You're intruding in his privacy.
And if Ranbir
like
Kapoor
that.
is asking, you probably
Yeah.
start to tell.
Yeah, and they don't know why he's asking. And they say, my girlfriend lives in Thane. So. And he's, the thing is going on. So, आप ट्रेन से जाते हो? हाँ, ट्रेन से कभी बस से किसी दिन टैक्सी ले लिया. कितना लगता है टैक्सी का तो महंगा. So he has that.
But when I see the two of you together, you seem like similar people. Are you?
It's an insult to both of us.
But are you?
Yeah, I think for a couple of things, I think we are interested in stories, and chiefly when we meet, we are just talking about, I had this idea. He tells me some of the stories that he has, or he'll tell me something interesting. I met this guy and he was like that, and I tell him similar things. Or we talk about food, or we plan to go somewhere where we can have good food, and we do that also. So food, people. Stories, movies, films, and just like doing nothing. When you're not working, he's also not very outgoing. Like neither am I. I'd rather sit and chat like right now, and this is really turning out to be a very nice chat, than do anything more hectic like dancing and all that. And he
Too much work, right?
Too much
Yeah,
work, man.
I feel the same way.
Screaming on top of your voices and talking about my maid servant didn't come today. Because chiefly we are talking about maid servants in these parties. So
you'd rather just chill out.
Yeah, just sit, talk comfortably. That kind of thing. So he has that too, and so do I. And we don't want to do much when we are not. But either we are stupid. And
or just lazy?
No, or very smart. Because I feel that just by living that hunger and showing it is not going to make you succeed anyway.
Exactly.
Subscribe to Film Companion. Hit that button down below to get your daily film fix.